Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented to you as always by Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTavCincy, that's REMITAV, Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. And with that, George, it's another week here in the Queen City, and plenty to get into this week as we have the first Bearcats game coming up on Saturday. Get your thoughts on what's coming up there. We had roster cut down day today for the Bengals. The Reds are treading water at best.
I thought you'd want to start with them.
No, certainly don't. And
what a disappointment.
FC Cincinnati got their teeth kicked in, even without Messi against Inter Miami. It was a revenge game, if you will. But we will start off with the team that has an official game this week, as your Cincinnati Bearcats are going to be playing Towson at 2:30 at historic Nippert Stadium on Saturday. I will be there up in the box. You will be there, I'm assuming, in the crowd, indulging in some Cincy lights, I'm sure.
Probably, yeah.
But your starting offense, no real surprises here. Left tackle John Williams, left guard D'Artagnan Tinsley, center Gavin Gerhardt, right guard Luke Kandra, right tackle Philip Wilder, tight end Joe Royer, wide receiver Xavier Henderson, and then Jamoy Mays or Tony Johnson, and then Tyron Smith or Aaron Turner, Brendan Sorsby at quarterback, Corey Kiner at running back. Any surprises there for you, George?
No. I will say this. I guess you'll see when they go against other people, but the wide receiver room seems to be a lot better. It's got to be. So I feel pretty good about that. We know the running game's going to be there. And I have a lot of confidence in the new quarterback. And what I've seen, what I've heard, seems to be an all-in kind of guy on the team. And really, I just – right now, everything's great. I know it fell apart for a while last year, and the end result was not anything you see people can be happy with, but they had a tumultuous offseason and all of that. It seems like this one, while there are a lot of new players, it seems like this offseason, the focus has been more on gathering guys that appreciate the team concept. And Scott Satterfield alluded to that in his news conference about bringing in guys that play to make the team better and that buy in and do the things you're supposed to do. So I'm excited about that. And I looked at that too deep when the game notes came out and saw what was there. And you know, nothing shocking to me on either side of the ball there. But I'm just excited to get going. And, you know, we're going to know in 3 weeks where this team is probably. Now, are we going to know as far as how well they'll do in the Big 12? Maybe not, because last year I felt pretty good about last year's team coming off that win against Pitt in Pittsburgh and thought, holy smokes, you know, they got a little something going on here that might be a little better than I thought, and it fell apart with that loss to Miami. But we'll find out after those first 3 weeks because all three are winnable games, and we'll see where they are. And you know, it's funny on I think it was a radio show tonight where Dan Horde, who's watched a lot of practices in his time, said that you still don't know, you know, coming out of a training camp, NFL teams do play a little bit against other teams, but you don't get a whole taste. You really don't know until there's a few games, you know, that they
under their belt,
and they're in the bank. And we don't know about this team yet. We really don't. There's been a lot of rosy outlooks on the upgrade amongst the wide receivers, the whole offensive line coming back, the revamped defense, and the back 7 or 8 there. So we'll see. But I do feel better than I thought I was going to feel at this point based on what we saw last year.
So we went over the offensive side. So the defensive side of the ball, Rob Jackson or Darian Varner at defensive end, Dante Corleone listed as your starting nose tackle. And all the other ones that have ors are in bold. Dante's the only one in bold, but you also have or Kamari Burns or Cam Rutherford there. Of course, I think that remains to be seen with Dante and when he comes back in full game shape. At the other defensive end, Eric Phillips at will linebacker, Jack Dingle at Mike. You have Jared Bartlett at Sam. You have Jake Golday or Jonathan Thompson. At the star position, you have Mekhi Miller or Jaquan Sanks or Antoine Peak. At cornerback, you have Jordan Young. At the other cornerback spot, you have Kalen Carroll or Armani Arnold. At free safety, you have Josh Minkins. At strong safety, you have Derek Canteen. And then on special teams, long snapper Jaden Perry, holder Mason Fletcher, kicker Carter Brown, kickoffs Nathan Hawks, punter Mason Fletcher, punt returner you have Michael Massari or Logan Wilson or Tyron Smith, kick returner you have Logan Wilson or DJ Taylor or Manny Cope.
That's a lot of ors, which I don't think is a bad thing. Yeah. PJ Fleck likes ors.
You're still trying to figure out who some of these guys are, though, right?
Right. No, and I think it also says that the competition was pretty damn spirited, and it's kind of hard to separate these dudes, and that's not a bad thing. Sure, you want an NFL draft pick at every position, but that's not the case right now. But what you do have is a bunch of guys competing, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I was just going to say, Satterfield did note tonight that I thought was interesting. When talking about Dante, he said, don't know if it'll be week 2 or week 3. Let me find the exact. Yeah, I think it'll be soon. Could be the 3rd game, could be the 2nd game. I think it'll be soon. He said, we're going to wait and let the doctors decide that. That's the most he's given us. What he did not say is week 1.
Right.
Dante was not out in 11 on 11 today. He was practicing very similar to what he's done throughout camp. I think it's pretty safe to say we're not going to see Dante Saturday.
Right.
But after that, it feels like it's a matter of when, not if. Just is it going to be Pitt? Is it going to be Miami? But that's the sense I've gotten all along. Mm-hmm. That's the first time Satterfield has kind of insinuated that we're not far off from Dante returning.
And do you get the feeling that even if the doctor said, okay, play him, they would probably hold him out in week 1 anyway, right?
At this point, yeah, because he hasn't gone 11 on 11 at all.
Yeah, and I think you want to do what's best for the kid, the young man. Sure. How do I call him a kid? You want to do what's best for the young man, the big young man.
He is 6'3", 320 pounds, sir.
No, he's a mammoth. But yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be week 2 or 3. Selfishly, and really for him, I hope week 2. I hope he gets in as many snaps as he can. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to be cleared unless they're really, really sure he's good to go. In fact, I get the same sense you do that, after week 1, it could be we're going to see him.
And I do think, Aaron, we are going to get what we have talked about the entire offseason, even though we didn't think we were going to get it. I think we are going to get all 5 offensive linemen returning from 2023. I did not see Philip Wilder practice today. DeAndre Buford spent most of the time that I watched at right tackle. So I think, as they wait on, and Satterfield talked about it in his press conference today, that Wilder's a little dinged up and they're not sure exactly when that is going to, it doesn't sound like it's like a long-term season-ending thing. It's a matter of, again, when they get him back, not if they get him back. But that would put, I would think, DeAndre Buford back at right tackle for the time being.
And on the other side of that line, and we were talking about Corleone and the guys, I thought it was interesting today when Satterfield said, well, they don't know everything they have there. They got a lot of guys, which I was glad to hear because, you know,
they do have a lot of numbers.
Yeah, there's been significant injuries there, but he almost sounded upbeat with the amount of depth they have there. And you know, given the hits they took, those two players that are out, and you know, we don't know what's going to happen with Dante. I think he'll be back soon. But it was good to hear him. I just felt like that was the first time I've heard any upbeat news about the front of the defense since all this stuff started with the injuries.
You got to remember, there was also a point where Cam Rutherford was out because he had a heat issue one day in practice, right. So he missed a couple days. Cam Wilson missed a little bit of time at the beginning of practice or beginning of camp, but then he was back by the end of camp. You know, there were a lot more things that weren't as glowing and rosy 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where now you're getting a lot of these guys back. Now you're not going to get Micah Coleman back. You're not going to get Jalen Hunt back.
Right.
But when you get Dante back, all of a sudden you got bodies.
Right.
We don't know how good they are yet because we haven't seen them in red and black really outside of Eric Phillips.
And I think Eric Phillips is pretty damn good myself.
Yeah.
I think he does a good job, and it's good to have him back for another year.
Somebody got him. They were all messing around today after practice, and somebody yelled at him as he was walking off the field. I'd take Justin Watley over Eric Phillips. Phillips turned around, and I was like, "Oh,
it better be a big man that said that."
They were just messing around. Watley was a good dude. I don't think there was any ill intent, but
I haven't said this on here. Maybe I have. Chad, thank you very much, and Aaron, you too, and Keegan, and all the guys on this website, because you don't get anything like this on UC Athletics anywhere. And the GoBearcats.com does a fairly credible job for being a collegiate website. But what you guys do is above and beyond anything I can get anywhere else. And to be just a little piece like this of it, I'm proud to do it because you guys do a bang-up job, and the coverage is, today I'm able to dial you guys up and get the news conferences because I couldn't be there, couldn't watch them live, but bam, I got them when I needed them. And I just wanted to say I appreciate the hell out of that.
No problem. You know, you're employed here. You can come if you want to.
I was going to say it if you did.
They would absolutely. Well, I may do that then.
I mean, you're on staff. You work here.
I know. I never really looked at it that way, that I could get like into the news conference and stuff, but I would probably just sit and just
or any day of camp, any practice you wanted.
I love going to practices. I used to love going there and horsing around. I kind of out of all the crap, and people are like, "Oh, you were on the air and you did it." That's the stuff I miss.
Right.
It's like, that's fun.
Thank you. And as you know, we're sick in the head. Like, we actually love
you guys are
doing this stuff. Like, I look forward to it. Like, I get excited when camp season starts to get here because I know, we're going to work a lot, but we're going to produce a lot of great content. And we've got a loyal following that counts on us for that stuff. And I love nothing more than getting out there and doing the work and getting in the grind. I love it.
Shows, and you're always there, and the Journal always has somebody there, and that's big. And coming from the side of it I came from, we can't, in television, we don't have enough people to always have somebody there because
when you don't always have enough time. You got to be at Bengals, you got to be at Reds,
right. To be able to drill down and be UC specific, it's just a great service to the community. And when I say community, the Bearcat community, but the community of Cincinnati, because everybody benefits from this.
You know how sick we are, George? We did a nightcap earlier. For some reason, my computer decided to update in the middle of said nightcap. It shut off my Bluetooth access. So my speaker, my headphones didn't work. My microphone didn't work. My computer completely reset. And to make sure that the people get the best quality content, we're going to go ahead and record another show after this one.
That's huge.
I still finished it.
You did finish it.
It was not our best work.
Not what you want. And,
we scrambled for like 90 seconds, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's like in a
anyway.
restaurant, right? There's quality control at a restaurant that's supposed to be in between the kitchen and the server.
Right.
When the quality control is good, they take a look and say, like, okay, that steak's not right. Send it back. Before it gets to the table.
Correct.
Somebody says send it back.
Correct. You don't want the consumer to have a bad experience. I love it.
And nobody wants to look at Aaron's face just take up the whole screen.
No. That's funny.
But speaking about not having a bad experience, George, what are you looking for success-wise against Towson for this first game to be a success in your book?
Well, obviously a win. But I just want to see things work the way they should. I want to see that running game be the running game we're used to with this bunch. I want to see a little red zone success if they get down there and have to, pound it in, because that was a problem last year. There were a lot of misfires in the red zone. And I want to see at the end of the game, the stats that you look at reflect the final score, because that was not the case last year with this bunch, because, there was what would I call it? No, I don't want to say the gaffe of the week, but there was always some big screw up that cost UC the game. And there were several games that were that way, where it was one big screw up that added up to a loss. And then you would look at their stats at the end of a game and say, how in the hell did they lose this game? I want to see them score points that reflect the yards they rack up offensively. I want to see finished drives. And Townsend. I don't want to say Towson. Right. I've been hearing people say Townsend all week on the radio.
It's only 6 letters. Towson. Towson.
Right. Towson. Right.
I actually hope
they beat Eastern Kentucky, right? Is that who it was last year in the opener? They beat them like a drum, and it looked that way. We're not going to know till they play Pitt, till they play Miami, in my estimation, that when you're rushing for 250 yards, you should win the ball game. And that's what I want to see.
I appreciate where you're at and where you're coming from, but I do hope that we get to see a gaffe, whether it's on defense or on offense, or both, and we get to see how they bounce back. We get to see how they respond, and get to see, are they mentally prepared for adversity, even against a team like Towson? Or are they prepared to have a drive that stalls on something stupid, whether it be a fumble, whether it be a 3rd and short and you didn't complete it, and then we have to see them come back on the next drive and respond to that? Are we able to see the defense give up a deep ball or a stupid penalty that we saw from last season on a deep ball, and can they respond the next play on the next drive and make sure that they're not repeating those same mistakes? Those are I guess the things. Maybe you don't see it against Towson, but I don't want them to have not seen any adversity when you're playing Pitt and not able to respond, I guess.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do get that. And I don't think you're going to probably get that this week, but you are probably going to get it against Pitt or Miami. And that is a good point, that they need to buck up and not let that play define the game.
Right.
But I hope they don't get that this week. But I also would love to see some competent coverage in the secondary, without flags being thrown all the time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember the Pitt game last year up there. The second half kind of got to be a little bit of a flag fest in the defensive backfield when things got dicey there late. And it's like
the entire second half
of things to come.
Yeah, the entire second half was a mess, and the team was never the same the rest of the season. Truthfully,
right? They weren't the same next week against Miami, right?
So I don't know. You got the coach talked about you'll know who you are really by his estimation by about the third game. At that point, he'll have a pretty good read on who these guys are on the field, how they respond to when their number is called, how they respond to adversity, how they respond to success. You'll be able to measure those things up and really have an idea who you have. It sounded like he's going to be rotating defense, especially an awful lot. He said he asked Coach Veit to make sure that they're rotating guys, both for the reps and just to, again, estimate what you have going forward in the season. When you have that many oars, more so on the defensive side of the ball than on the offensive side of the ball, you're still not sure. So if you're still not sure, find out, especially against an opponent like Towson.
Yeah, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I hope to hell it's a good thing in this case. Right. And when I look who the oars are, and you looked at the linebacking crew and all that, and it's like, man, they got some good battles for playing time among those linebackers. So that's probably a good thing there. The DBs is really where I felt like there was, and there was a problem with the linebackers last year. I mean, how many times have they talked about how beat up some of those guys were?
Dingle in particular, right?
Out there, right?
Yeah.
And they do have more depth there, and it looks like credible depth. And I just hope all the oars in that defensive backfield are because it's good competition. But I do feel like that just everything I've gathered is they did their homework on these guys they brought in. And so I think, honest to God, I feel like they looked at it as if there's a guy with maybe a tick less talent, but is a way better team guy, they went with the team guy in this whole portal thing. And I get that, because if you're a coach, you cannot reach a kid that is unreachable. You're just not going to do it. And if you got a kid that's reachable and teachable, you can get it done with him if he has a tick less talent. And we'll get into that in a little bit when we come up with when we talk about a kid who made the Bengals roster today.
Go watch the Derek Canteen interview from today, and tell me that's not a kid.
Say that because that's the only one I didn't see. But I did hear Coach Satterfield talk about what he brought in immediately when he came in. He's a captain, right?
He's a captain.
Yeah,
like new to the. And he talked about raised in a military family, raised by yes sir, no sir. Remembers as a child watching his dad get up every morning and shine his boots and put his uniform on.
Oh my God! Okay, I'll be watching that tonight. Okay,
just go. I'm serious. Just go watch the Derek Canteen interview, and you will understand the type of kid that they want here and why.
Yes. And I totally get it. It's smart. And that's a kid. He was at Georgia Southern, right? And then Virginia Tech and came here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I saw his career path and all that. And I will watch that. I promise. In fact, I look forward to it.
Outstanding. Like, think of the respect for a guy that's, he's been here for 6 months, 7 months.
Right.
And voted the captain by his peers.
Right.
And, he talked about how much that meant to him to come into this situation and to earn that respect. And, how much going to higher ground was kind of like military
training.
So it was outstanding, and you'll get a feel for the type of character, the type of personality that they're looking for just off of that one interview alone.
Yeah, I think they prioritize that, and I think it's very, very smart. And I can't wait to see that interview. I love kids like that. I mean, I wish the hell I could say I was a kid like that. Now, did I mind hard work? No. But did I screw off if someone was looking away? Probably. So kids like that, you can't have enough of.
I agree. He's fun to listen to talk.
Probably.
All right. God dang it. Thanks, Chad.
In
Okay,
any case, yeah, it should be. I'm excited to be down there this weekend. Hopefully, the weather participates, and we've had such a heat wave this week.
It's supposed to be low to mid 80s, maybe, which is fine. Thank God it's not going to be today, like it was.
It's the potential scattered showers that I'm not looking forward to. So we'll see.
For God's sakes, Aaron, you need some rain gear.
I'll be up in the booth. It's fine either way.
Oh, then hell, you don't care.
It just doesn't make for a fun game day experience when it's raining. You know that.
I do know that, but I'll do it anyway.
It should be fun. Kickoff again at 2:30 at historic Nippert Stadium. So if you're not there in attendance, hopefully you're following along in whatever capacity that you decide to do so.
Yeah, I hope I think they'll have a pretty good crowd for this. Hopefully they have. I don't know. It's not declared a sellout, which surprised me a little bit, but I think it'll be a raucous crowd, and it's going to be fun. I was reading last night, or this morning actually. I got an email about the different, like some new things they're doing, and some of the new features that are around the stadium, and what they've done. I full disclosure, sit on the visitor side, which used to be the home side when Brian Kelly wanted his mug on television. And so we moved our season tickets over there. So they've been there ever since. So now it's a visitor side. But over there is fantastic. You got that Shakely lawn and all the things they're doing there, and the plaza, and they opened Fifth Third Arena, and you can go in there and use the restroom, get a drink. I'm telling you, it's a great experience. It's a lot of fun, and it's family oriented. I mean, that's where I have my problem with the college football versus the NFL, which I used to always be NFL, and sometimes you go to an NFL game and you feel like you got to have freaking medieval gear on to get out of the stadium alive if you're in an opposing stadium. And that just doesn't happen, at least in most college football stadiums. I'm not going to speak for Central Florida, but I will speak for the rest.
We will have a full breakdown of everything you can expect to see at Nippert Stadium with Anthony DeFino tomorrow night on the BCJ pod. So be sure to tune in tomorrow at 8 for that. That all said, let's switch gears here a little bit. The Cincinnati Bengals have made some roster cuts, and there's certainly some news coming out of Paycor Stadium today in regards to one Jamar Chase. So we'll get to that. But first and foremost, a couple days ago, they had their first round of cuts. Hakeem Butler, Noah Kane, Jackson Carman, Andre Carter, Aaron Casey, Michael Dowell, Alan George, Kwame Lassiter, Rocky Lombardi, Eric Miller, and Josh Pryor, before cutting today with their final cuts of Travis Bell, Nate Brooks, Devin Cochran, Elijah Collins, Carlos Davis, Dominique Davis, Nate Gilliam, Cam Grandy, Devin Harper, Shaka Hayward, Trey Hill, Shedrick Jackson, PJ Jules, Kendrick Pryor, and Lance Robinson. Also, I believe Jalen Davis and Logan Woodside were cuts as well.
Yes, they were.
Biggest name standing out there, Jackson Carman, second round pick from Fairfield High School. What a bust.
I know. I'm very, very, very sorry for that. I hope somehow it turns around for him. I don't know. Look, not everybody is cut out to play in the NFL. And when you're a big man playing on the line, you still got to have quick feet and everything else that goes along with it. And you're talking about the best of the best. And I feel really bad about that because, yes, a second-round pick, played at Clemson, was just an absolute Adonis in high school and playing at Fairfield and just loads of talent, obviously. And I don't know. I hope if he does have the talent that this is kind of a turning point that will get him to where he can spend some time in the league. But yeah, that's a shame. And every team has those. It's not just the Bengals, but that's a big pick to have a bust on. Fortunately, the Bengals have done their homework elsewhere along the offensive line. And they've got a kid who made the roster today, who was their second pick in the 7th round, Matt Lee, the center, who kind of shocked everybody when he got into game action and got into those joint practices and wasn't just holding his own, which is
graded extremely high according to PFF.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you can still have that happen with all the attention. You got PFF doing all that stuff, all these different services and all that. And this guy is their second pick in the 7th round. I don't know the exact pick and how many from the end it was, but that kid was still available in the 4th round, the 5th round, the 6th round. And there's probably teams needing a center that this kid probably would have filled a void. And if not for the Bengals having, a damn good center who's a veteran that knows what the hell he's doing, this guy could be starting for this team.
Well, and I think that's a testament to what is always pointed out to be the smallest scouting team in all of the NFL is the Bengals scouting team. And they have retained 12 rookies on this team, which is something close to 25% of the 53-man roster. When you look at 12 rookies, I mean, that's just shy of 25%, 22, 23%, somewhere in there. It's astounding to me that you've kept that many rookies, that you were able to make that many cuts. You kept 2 undrafted free agents, most notably probably the linebacker, Mema Njongmeta, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Njongmeta.
That's a guy all over the place. He flew all over the place. He made sure that you could not cut him.
Unbelievable that he makes the roster. I went back. I was watching Thursday night's game. I was probably one of a handful of people. Although I will say I probably didn't watch a whole lot of the second half. I mean, that was atrocious because nobody was playing anybody at that point. It was atrocious. But I'm watching this kid because he had been making some tackles the whole way through. And he makes a play, and God bless Kirk Herbstreit, brings up his name and says, I want to get to this guy because, he's runs a slow 4.4, but he's having a hell of a camp. So I go back and look at his stuff at the combine, and oh my God, his measurables as far as not his own physical size and hands and all that, but the other measurables, running, jumping, all atrocious. But the guy just makes plays. No, I mean, most of the stuff was in the red where it's like, oh God, not even close to NFL caliber.
Who does that remind you of?
4.9 40, he's a linebacker.
Who does that remind you of, George? We had a guy here at UC just last year who didn't have the measurables, who turned out to be a team captain this year.
Yeah.
And Ivan Pace.
Right. Ivan Pace, right. And so this guy's making tackles everywhere. He just has a nose for the ball. And I was so excited that he got rewarded making the roster because he produces. And there are guys, and Ivan Pace is one of these, that makes up for a step slow or this because their anticipation and their ability to just break down quickly of what's going on. And they're there before the other guy is because they recognize quicker. Just something. And I feel like Joe Burrow has this as a quarterback. I feel like this guy, and I felt this way when I watched him as a senior at LSU. And because, we're all like, God, the Bengals could have the first pick in the draft and they got to get a quarterback. I mean, I love a lot of things about Andy Dalton, but he's not a guy that's going to take you to a Super Bowl by himself or make everybody better. He's competent, but that's probably where it begins and ends. So I watched him a lot, and his ability to know after he takes 2 steps back, dropping back, to know where the hole in the defense is. And this kid strikes me the same way. He's got one of those brains that just knows where it's going and is right a hell of a lot more often than he's wrong. And so I was really pumped that he made the squad because he deserved it. But his measurables, I went back. I mean, he ran a 4.940, and Herbstreit even said on the telecast, like, well, he's really slow. Well, he don't play slow because he knows where it's going. And he gets his nose in there and he hits somebody. And so I was glad he made it. So it's stories like that are fun. And I will say the Bengals have done a really good job, especially since Duke Tobin has come in and been a part of that personnel department. And there's been a couple of bad drafts they've had. There's been some drafts where 2-3 years that every team has those, but more often than not, they are plugging holes in the bottom of the draft that a lot of teams don't. And some of it's just on special teams. Some of it is these guys, they've had numerous players over the last dozen years that shined on special teams that didn't show up on anybody's radar. But I'm going to tell you something. Special teams are big, and special teams tackles are big. When you get a guy down at the spot of the punt, that's a big deal in the NFL because every game comes down to the last drive, damn near, in NFL football.
Couple interesting notes I have on the roster. Only 3 running backs. I can't remember the last time they only ran 3 running backs.
Yes, that was interesting. And I don't know if that's going to change between now and opening day, but the Bengals only play one anyway, right?
Generally speaking, I don't know that this year will be that way because Chase Brown is making a case for himself along with Zach Moss, who they just
but I'm saying on any particular play, you're going
sure, yeah,
right. You're going 12 personnel or 11 and all the wide outs and that's where the game's gone.
Tight end though with 5 was a big surprise. I don't know the last time I don't know that it's happened in my lifetime that they ran 5 tight ends.
It was surprising to me. That was surprising. But when you look at the whole roster and you look at each position group and who made it, who didn't, I can't disagree with it. I don't know if that's what we're going to see on opening day, but, they didn't want McLaughlin, the rookie, to be exposed to waivers. They didn't want Eric Hall exposed to waivers, and I don't blame him. Eric Hall looked good when he played. When he was in game situations, I thought he looked pretty good. So
another Fairfield kid.
What's that?
Another Fairfield kid.
I know, isn't that something? And Fairfield's had some players, man. They've had some players, and that coach does a good job up there. He's been a damn good high school football coach for 20 years now.
Other notes I have, though, 10 defensive linemen, specifically 6 interior defensive linemen. That's quite a bit on the interior.
Yeah, they only have 4 edge.
Yep. Then I thought it was interesting that they kept 5 corners and 5 safeties. I don't. I feel like you need corner more throughout the season than you need safety, but maybe that's just me.
No, but this may not be the roster they run out there for game one. We'll see what pops and all that. They're probably looking a little bit for a corner, and then the safety position. You got the 2 veterans, Von Bell and Geno Stone,
Right.
and then behind them you've got third-year guy Tyson Anderson who missed a year, so he's a little raw. But I think that kid's ceiling is really, really high. I like it.
Dax Hill does win the starting corner job opposite Cam Taylor-Britt. So maybe this is what you wanted. I know they didn't exercise the 5th-year option on Dax Hill, but I think this is what you wanted to see. He's kind of more or less on a prove-it deal, right? Like,
yep, it's on him. It's on him.
You can show me what you got, and
I will not be shocked if there's some massaging of this roster and another corner shows up. That I don't know. We will see, but you know how that is, and they've done. God, I'm going to get back to Duke again, but they've done a really good job at picking up guys that are kind of under the radar that get cut somewhere else. And this is the key for the Bengals and why they've had success. Fit what they do, because there's a corner somewhere that doesn't fit what his team does, but he may fit what the Bengals do.
Also keep in mind, this is generally when the Bengals would make a trade. If they don't end up with one of those guys on waivers, they'll go out and make a trade for somebody who they wanted to bring in. That's how you ended up with a BJ Hill. I know that they've done that several different times over the course of the last 10, 15 years, where they make a last-minute trade right before the season starts, because it's not their style to do it once the season's already kicked off.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And they'll be looking at all that stuff. They really will. Who else they by the way, that BJ Hill deal was one of the best deals ever that the Bengals have made. I mean, they've made some good deals. Pete Johnson for James Brooks. I give the Bengals 2 thumbs up on that. Christ, I forget the other big one. This is way back when they traded Hall of Fame wide receiver Charlie Joyner for defensive end Coy Bacon. And Coy Bacon basically set the record for sacks that year, but a couple years later he was done, and Charlie goes on to play, go in the Hall of Fame. But that was a good deal too. It was good for both teams. So I just feel like there's probably a move coming at that position. And that may mean one of these 5 safeties ends up getting exposed to waivers or on the practice squad, however it works out. But I was not shocked by anything they did. I guess if you would have told me 5 tight ends, I would have been like, who the hell does that? But again, when you look at the talent and the positions and where they are, it makes sense. I can't bang them on it.
Yeah, I'll be curious if not curious. I guess I'll be surprised if they end up with 5 tight ends and only 3 running backs going into game one. At the very least, I would think you'd see a running back on the practice squad, just to shore up that position a little bit. But to not have a 4th on the roster
somewhere else on the practice squad if they have
to not have a 4th on the roster is bananas to me. I wonder if Tanner Hudson would be the one on the chopping block.
They play one down now. I mean, it's the NFL.
In any case, moving on from that, I wanted to get to Jamar Chase. While there is not a deal in place for him, there was a deal this week for another guy at that position who didn't really move the needle, I guess, as far as what has been set for as a precedent for wide receivers getting paid at that position. But CeeDee Lamb agreed to a 4-year, $136 million deal. we continue to see this, right? And the longer the Bengals hold off, the more I'm concerned. However, there was some movement in the fact that Jamar Chase did practice not once but twice this past week already, and that looks to be a good sign. I am curious if a deal has quietly been done. They haven't announced it yet, and maybe in the same vein as when the Kansas City Chiefs opened just a season ago, the Bengals made sure to announce that signing of Joe Burrow right before kickoff of the Kansas City Chiefs game, just to kind of poke a little needle in the side of the Kansas City Chiefs fans.
So you're saying next Thursday at 6:00, we're going to get an announcement?
Are you surprised he practiced?
A little, yeah, but I also think Jamar knows the deal. He's got 2 years left. He sees how this works. He wasn't happy that they hadn't done anything, but he understands that the Bengals have a real opportunity here to do something pretty damn good. And he probably wants to be a part of it. And he's not going to step on that field and half-ass it. Because if you step on a football field and half-ass it, you're going to get your butt kicked. And he knows
when you're a superstar like that, the world would know that he was half-assing it. He would not be able to go without scrutiny.
I just don't think that's how he's built. He's just not going to, I'm not going to jump for this pass because I might get my ribs taken out. That's not him. That's just not him. Right. So I think you may be right. There may be something, and they're going to, and I hope you're right. I really do. But he's also probably knows that he jumped the gun a little bit on this, that after this offseason is the one where you really make a stink. And I get what he's done, but I also think that when you've got, I'm sorry, T. Higgins probably won't be here next year. No. And you've got T. Higgins on the other side of the field, and you're Jamar Chase. And then, quite honestly, they have really capable receivers elsewhere. And Yossi Voss and Jermaine Burton can be monsters in their own right. They're showing that kind of talent. I mean, Burton, for a rookie, give me a freaking break. They could have an absolute run and gun offense that is going to be out of this world. I mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. And if he's part of that, and is he going to get it here? I hope so. I don't know. I think he can, because I think the cat just keeps going up and up and up. But if he doesn't get it here, he's going to get it somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's a question. I think it's just a matter.
I think he knows. And then who knows? Maybe I forget how these insurance things work, but, maybe he's going to have a huge ass Lloyd's of London. Do they still do that stuff with the insurance policies? I mean, who knows?
I don't know. I can't answer any of that. If there isn't a deal announced before kickoff on Thursday night next week, I'm curious if it was indeed what Chad was talking about all along, where they just didn't have the money to throw into escrow this season and they had planned for it next season. And maybe that's finally they were able to talk him down off the ledge because they planned on it. It's just you jumped the gun a year early, and we didn't have it.
The gun a little bit, to be honest. But at the same time, now you really got me thinking, because today or yesterday when they started saying that these NFL teams could sell these ownership shares or whatever to these. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. First of all, you guys have more money than these.
Right.
People. What the hell is going on? I don't get it. Because I will tell you this. and I'm stupid. Do not listen to me right now.
Private equity stuff, yeah.
I'm not buying into that. They got enough damn money. And am I going to get anything back out of it? Probably not. I don't get it. There's something going on.
I read that it was for essentially that this is how they're selling it, is that it would allow the owners to put more money into the stadiums than asking taxpayers, which would kind of revamp how the NFL has worked in the past. We'll see if that comes to be true, because you're essentially just robbing.
All for that.
At that point, you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul, and
right.
I don't know that bringing in private equity is good for anybody when you're taking money from overseas and some of the shady places that you'd be taking money from.
And these people rip the hell out of some of these stadiums. It's a goddamn sports stadium. Like when I was down at Jerry World, okay, it was kind of cool and all that. And even the stadium out in LA, it was overdone. It's like, I don't need this to watch a football. I don't need all this other crap. I'm there to watch a football game. I need a seat that's semi-comfortable, access to beer, and maybe some nachos. That's it. I don't need all this stuff. I don't get what's going on. Like, why do the Atlanta Hawks in their NBA place, they've got a goddamn golf simulator? If you're going to go to a golf simulator, go to a golf simulator. You don't need to go to the Hawks game and then start hitting golf ball. It's ridiculous. We're there to see the damn game. Sit in your seat and watch the game.
Oh, you've never sounded so old on this show, George. I love it.
Is that terrible?
It's not terrible. I feel similarly, and that's what I usually get
chastised
about. That's why I
like Nippert Stadium. And look, they have a lot of good amenities there and out around and all that. But when the action's going on, I want my butt in the seat. And I want to see the game. That's why I went.
Well, switching top. We we got quite a bit to get to still. So we'll switch gears here. The Reds, Natty Ron, by the way, you're here in the chat. I did want to let you know this is our all Cincinnati sports show. So this is where we talk all of them. So the Reds lose tonight to the Oakland Athletics. They are still the Oakland Athletics, at least until the end of this year, I believe. 5-4 at home. They were so close to getting over the hump of 500, and here we are, 6 games under 500 now. Chad's boy, Lance McAllister, is on his, it feels like, nightly tirade at this point, talking about how it's not a professional baseball team. It's more or less a 4A group of misfits. This team, it's as if they did put all of their eggs in the rookie baskets, now sophomore basket, and just hoped that would be enough. They didn't care about bringing in veterans. They didn't care about bringing in guys who had been proven outside of the 3 major deals that they made. And beyond that, there was really just half-ass signings.
You brought in what? Montas, Candelario.
Yep. And Nick Martinez.
Nick Martinez, who's been okay. You know, when Frankie got traded to Milwaukee, and I don't know if he pitched tonight, but
he's been lights out.
Yeah, they were 4-0 in his start since he. What?
Lights out.
I have no answers. I'm sorry. I have no answers other than you can never have too much talent. The Yankees have proved that time and time again, because you can never have enough. You can never have too much. And the Reds had a chance to stack a little bit, and instead they just nibbled around the edges. They can't do this offseason, but I said that last year and they did, and they're going to do it again. I thought the Montas signing was a decent gamble, but look at what's going on now. And can you name the rotation? I don't even think David Bell can name the rotation right now. I don't know what's going on. I mean, Lodolo's back on the injured list.
Yep.
Hunter Green's there, and God forbid, they probably won't pitch him again. Then we find out
they did say that his UCL is in perfect condition. The doctor who did the surgery looked at it, and his UCL is in perfect condition. It's not going to require Tommy John, so that's a relief. However,
he didn't have surgery; it was an MRI, right?
Yeah, they looked at it, and everything's looking good. But do you even risk running him back out there this year?
No, not now. It's over. You were one game. They swept the Cardinals, and I was there for the last game, and I'm loving life. And it was like one game under 500. They got a shot. Here we go. They're like 3-8 since that. They just felt and you
terrible.
And it's not like they're playing world beaters, and they're just, you get below. It's, for lack of a better, I'm not going to say what I was thinking, but it's like, you have a beautiful pie and the crust and everything looks good, but below the surface, there's just not enough there, and that's what they've been. And they've got their windows closing now. It's closed. Their window, and Matt McLean pretty much was gone all year. I mean, they had terrible luck. They really did. But they always have terrible luck, and I don't know why that is. And that's something that needs to be looked at, and probably because there's zero depth.
Well, also throw out your entire medical staff. Get rid of every last one. Anyone who's wearing a shirt that says medical staff, they've got to be gone. Can't cancel all of the contracts and sign in a new staff, because this year went all the way sideways in that regard. That all said,
totally.
You had a golden opportunity this season, because even the Brewers they're not World Series champions. I'm looking at that roster, and I don't think that's a World Championship roster.
No,
they're 20 games
at the beginning of the year.
They're 20 games over 500, but how many of those games came against Cincinnati alone? I think that probably 12 of those.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't. You had an opportunity this season, looking around at the rest of the division, to honestly, it wouldn't have taken that much to put this team in a position to maybe not even win the pennant, but at least win the division. And you just decided not to. You simply decided not to build a team that could contend for a division championship. If you had 2 injuries, and we've had quite a few more than 2 injuries. So they did this to themselves. And I wonder at what point you're legitimately going to see, I know I'm all the way off of the ownership group, but I wonder at what point you're going to see the city as a whole just write this entire ownership group off and stop supporting this team.
It's just such, like, people my age just love the Reds. We saw
I know.
Machine. We love going to a ball game and getting the beer for $20,
but you're missing out on an entire generation of fans. And
I know. No, you're right. There's nothing to get excited about. I agree.
How over the course of the last 20 years, how many teams have you actually been excited about in August, September? 2?
I know. It's like talking to my kids about it. Like, no, seriously, this is fun. And then you go down there and get your brains beat in. I can't do it anymore. I wish I could. And I'll go to a game here and another, who knows, I may go tomorrow night. But I can't defend it anymore. I can't say go support the Reds, because they have not put the product on the field that merits supporting.
And you could say fire Nick Krall, and I don't believe it's Nick Krall's fault, because I think he's playing with one hand behind his back.
No, I don't think it is.
You could say fire David Bell, and I'm fully on board with it, because I wonder how much he's bored with this job too. Because that's another one who's playing with one hand behind his back.
He is, but I will say this, and as I've said, I'm a Bell fan, but my God, when you got a guy heating up and you continue to run Marte out there at third base, who has actually hit better over the past week, but Espinal should have been out there a hell of a lot more over the past month and a half than he was, and Noelvi Marte showed absolutely jack crap since he came back.
But the analytics, George.
But the kid's only 22, but maybe I got an idea. Send him to Daytona. You hit 300 there, you get to go to Dayton. You hit 300 there, you get to go to Chattanooga. You know what I mean? Instead, they just brought him back to the major league roster and said, hey, kid, here's your per diem. You're staying in major league hotels. Give him a bus ride or two and give him some incentive.
Yeah, I'm with you. That all said, on a much lighter note for the Cincinnati Reds, it came, I believe, Wednesday, right after we had done this show. But congratulations to Joey Votto and his retirement.
Yep. And you know what? You can't tell someone when to retire or whatever. I wish he'd done it sooner, but he wanted to see if he had anything in the tank, and God bless him for trying. I don't give him any grief for that. He ran the gamut. And then when you go back and look at those numbers and the things he did, and then the big hits he had in big moments, he was a really, really good one for the Cincinnati Reds. There's no other way to say it other than he gave the Reds a hell of a lot of good baseball.
Cooperstown will be better with him in it, and I look forward to that induction ceremony because I think
that should be a first ballot. I think everyone agrees.
I'd hope so. I'd look forward to hearing that speech because I think it's going to be one for the ages.
It will be funny.
And I publicly want to say shame on Marty Brenneman for all of the flack that he brought Joey Votto simply for playing that contract out in Cincinnati. But that's all I'll say on that.
That's on you. I don't give Marty any flack. I saw him a week ago at a Kroger's grand opening up in Lebanon, and he is the best ever.
I'm sure he was eating Laura's lean beef while he was doing that.
Well, you know what? I think he had I think he probably took a couple packs out, and I think he had some hot dogs. My boy Mike Meadows runs that Kroger, and Marty was there for this grand reopening. Don't ask me how I get involved in this stuff, but I do. Marty's a treasure, and he's still doing great. And Marty's like the rest of us. Does he bat 1,000 on his opinions or what? No. He's got a fire. None of us are 100% correct. But compared to me, Marty's probably been correct more than I have.
Well, as always, I speak for me, you speak for you, and that's how we do this show. But I did want to give my 2 cents.
On Marty. I'm going to let him take some whacks at you sometime, and I will tell you this: if you want to get in a battle of,
I don't want to get into that battle. I promise you that.
I don't think I've ever seen that guy lose. When it comes to that,
even if he did, I'm sure he probably
each other. He's not only in the Baseball Hall of Fame, he's in the Barb Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's something. All of that. Switching gears one last time. FC Cincinnati, like I said, they played Inter Miami and didn't go so well for your football club Cincinnati.
No, and Messi didn't play, and they got some stuff going on, but they're still adding players. I still think they're going to be fine. And I did not see this, but I heard Pat Noonan was going to throw out the first pitch at the Reds game tonight.
I don't know. I've been paying attention enough to the Reds scoreboards, but anything else going on with the Reds it's been
I know
tough.
this came out of left field. But yeah, I did hear that was going to happen, but I didn't see it. I was in a golf league, sweating like a you know what in church.
Yeah,
Um, it was hot out there. High school football this week. What a crazy first week it was last week. Winton Woods beat Springfield, which is an awesome win
sure.
for Winton Woods, who has been bumped up to Division One, and Lakota West with the big win over X Moeller, the big win over Princeton. I and this week you've got what do we got? We got Highlands at Covcath, which is huge. In fact, I may go up the hill to that game. And what do we got in Ohio? Lakota West Hamilton. Hamilton beat Baden in a good game, and Baden's really, really good and has been good for years. The Hamilton's a team to watch out for this year. They play Lakota West this week. Lakota West is Lakota West with Tom Bolden as head coach. So that's going to be a hell of a game to keep an eye on, too.
All right. Should be a lot of fun this weekend as week 2 already underway. So
yeah, and like the GMC, I mean, because of that 10-game schedule, they're getting into conference play.
We'll see what happens. But UC football starts on Saturday, and you got FC Cincinnati on Saturday. You got high school football Friday. The Bengals, we are a week and a half away from that all orange kickoff. Which what are we doing? But
Wait, they're going to wear those all orange uniforms that game?
I'm pretty sure those are opening day.
I cannot wait to see those. I just don't know what I'm going to think.
I'm sure it looks different in person than it'll look on your TV, but
I just don't know what I'm going to think. But it'll be interesting. I will say that the all whites with the white helmets, I wasn't sure I was wild about, but those look pretty sharp. So,
well, that's what Cincinnati, the Bearcats will be wearing, the all whites on Saturday. So,
with white helmets?
Yep, all whites.
Wow. Okay. I should have known that, and I didn't.
Should be wear white to the game.
What is your favorite Bearcat helmet? The black, the white, or the red?
I like the matte black finish was a good one.
Yeah, but I'm the traditional black all day long.
The matte red was a good one too, but I like the black with the black face mask. Don't throw that white face mask on there.
Did you like the red one? God, I think they unveiled that in like the Belt Bowl or something, but that one looked better than I thought it would. I wasn't big on it, and then I saw it.
Which one had the triangles?
Oh yeah, what was that? Was starting to look a little too much like those Maryland Under Armour things.
In any case, well, that's going to wrap up our show here this week.
Yeah,
we had
gamut tonight.
Yep, we went through everything. We talked about it all, but we'll be back doing it again 9:00 next week. As always, thank you to Remington Tavern for sponsoring this little show. You can find them at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But thank you to everybody in the chat who joined us today and those of you listening on your morning commute. But for George Vogel, I am Aaron Smith. We'll do it all again, 9:00 next week. See you then.
Thanks, Aaron.